turn out to be areas of strength for intellectually. Train your brain to defeat anything. Composed and distributed by emotionless officer. Presentation. Life doesn't quit testing you. However, consider the possibility that you could meet each obstruction with enduring strength. Envision awakening consistently with the certainty to confront anything life tosses your direction. A form of you who doesn't recoil in that frame of mind of misfortune, who transforms disappointments into venturing stones, and who embraces provokes as any open doors to develop. Truly, this rendition of you is definitely not a far-off dream. It's totally inside your grip. As the apathetic logician Epictetus once said, it's not what befalls you, yet the way in which you respond to it that is important. Turning out to be serious areas of strength for intellectually about keeping away from life's difficulties, yet about dominating how you answer them. Mental strength isn't tied in with having godlike capacities or vast assets. It begins with something more straightforward yet vastly strong, your mentality. Your contemplations shape your activities shape your propensities, and your propensities shape your life. Reconstructing your psyche implies breaking liberated from self-question, dominating profound control, and fostering the discipline to transcend cynicism. It's tied in with opening a flexibility so solid that no difficulty, no disappointment, and no deterrent can keep you down. In the following couple of minutes, I'll direct you through reasonable demonstrated moves toward train your psyche, develop resolute mental fortitude, and make a day-to-day existence where no test feels impossible. This is your initial move toward dominating your brain and dominating your life. How about we get everything rolling? Section 1. Reinvent your attitude. The initial step to mental strength is reconstructing your attitude, and this is where everything starts. Your brain resembles the product that controls each activity, feeling, and choice you make. Assuming your contemplations are negative, foolish, or loaded up with uncertainty, they will make hindrances that keep you down. It's vital to comprehend that the manner in which you think shapes your world. At the point when you tell yourself, I can't do this, you're providing your brain an order, and your activities will follow that conviction. Over the long run, this negative reasoning can bring up a pattern of self-question and disappointment. To break free, you should intentionally move your reasoning. Begin by embracing assertions, positive articulations about yourself and your capacities. For instance, rather than saying I'm bad at this, have a go at saying I'm equipped for learning and getting to the next level. Talk these confirmations day to day, regardless of whether they feel normal from the get-go. Redundancy is key since it overhauls your psyche mind, supplanting pessimism with engaging convictions. Another integral asset is appreciation. By zeroing in on the things you're appreciative for, you train your cerebrum to see the upsides in your day-to-day existence, in any event during testing times. Appreciation can be basically as straightforward as recognizing a caring word from somebody, appreciating your well-being, or being grateful for a little achievement. This change in context lessens pressure and opens the entryway for energy to flourish. Challenge your restricting convictions. These are the considerations that murmur, you're not sufficiently shrewd, you're not sufficient, or you won't ever succeed. Ask yourself, is this conviction truly obvious? What proof backings it? What proof negates it? As a rule, you'll observe that these convictions depend on dread or previous encounters, instead of the real world. When you recognize them, supplant them with considerations that support development. For example, I can sort this out, or each disappointment is a stage towards progress. At the point when you assume command over your viewpoints, you assume command over your life. Reconstructing your outlook is difficult, and it will not work out coincidentally. Yet with steady exertion, you'll see a change in the manner in which you approach difficulties, connections, and open doors. Keep in mind, dominating your considerations is the underpinning of dominating your life. Part 2. Foster a steady confidence in yourself. Fostering a steady faith in yourself is one of the main strides toward turning out to be areas of strength for intellectually. Certainty isn't something you're brought into the world with, it's something you work over the long run, and it begins with the manner in which you converse with yourself. Self-uncertainty can resemble an undetectable hindrance that prevents you from arriving at your objectives. Each time you tell yourself, I'm not sufficient or I can't do this, you build up those questions and cut off your true capacity. In any case, truly, you're able to do considerably more than you understand. To begin fabricating this conviction, start by perceiving your assets and past victories. Recall when you achieved something you were glad for, regardless of whether it was little. Perhaps you completed a difficult task, helped somebody out of luck, or mastered another expertise. These minutes are confirmation of your capacities. Record them on paper and return to them at whatever point you really want a sign of what you're able to do. Celebrate little wins en route. They're the structure blocks of certainty. Another key step is figuring out how to isolate your self-esteem from outside approval. Frequently, we depend on others' endorsement to feel better about ourselves. While consolation is great, genuine certainty comes from the inside. Begin avowing your worth by reminding yourself, I'm enough as I am, and I have the stuff to succeed. The more you center around your own confidence in yourself, the less you'll rely upon outside feelings. Moving your point of view on failure is likewise significant. Many individuals see disappointment as confirmation that they're not adequate, yet intellectually resilient people view it as an amazing chance to develop. At the point when you fall flat, it doesn't mean you're a disappointment. It implies you took a stab at something testing and gained from the experience. Rather than allowing mishaps to shake your certainty, use them as venturing stones. Ask yourself, what could I at any point gain from this, and how might I utilize this experience to move along? Encircle yourself with energy. Individuals you invest energy with can tremendously affect your self-conviction. Decide to associate with the people who inspire you, energize you, and challenge you to be better. Stay away from individuals who continually reprimand or cut you down. They'll just take care of your self-question. Creating unshakable confidence in yourself is an excursion, not an objective. It requires steady exertion, self-reflection, and flexibility. In any case, as you construct this inward certainty, you'll see that difficulties feel less overwhelming, potential open doors appear to be more feasible, and you'll start to move toward existence with a feeling of solidarity and conviction that nothing can shake. Part 3. Re-examine pessimism into potential open doors for development. Pessimism is a piece of life, yet the way that you decide to answer it decides if it keeps you down or moves you forward. Intellectually resilient individuals comprehend that antagonism doesn't need to characterize their excursion. All things being equal, they consider it to be an opportunity to develop, learn, and develop. Reevaluating cynicism is an expertise that takes practice. However, it can change the manner in which you approach difficulties and misfortunes. The initial step is to perceive the truth about pessimism, a transitory state, not a super-durable truth. Frequently, negative contemplations come from dread, uncertainty, or previous encounters. For instance, you could think, I generally mess up or nothing at any point turns out for me. These contemplations feel truly at the time, yet they're seldom precise. Challenge them by asking yourself, is this thought supportive? Is it even obvious? More often than not, you'll track down it's simply a response to stress or vulnerability, not an impression of the real world. Then, shift your viewpoint by posing a strong inquiry, what could I at any point gain from this? Each tough spot conveys an illustration, whether it's about flexibility, critical thinking, or close to home strength. For example, a bomb task could show you how to design better from here on out, or a contention with somebody could show you the significance of clear correspondence. Whenever you reevaluate provokes as any open doors to develop, you assume command over the story. Rather than feeling like a casualty of your conditions, you become a functioning member in your development. One more approach to reevaluate pessimism is to zero in on appreciation. Indeed, even in difficult stretches, there's continuously something to be grateful for. An example took in, a steady companion, or even the solidarity to continue onward. Appreciation assists you with moving your concentration based on what's up to one side, making space for inspiration to enter your life. Perception can likewise be an incredible asset. When confronted with antagonism, envision yourself defeating what is going on. Envision yourself prevailing in spite of the chances, and ponder how you'll feel when you accomplish your objective. This psychological practice can support your certainty and assist you with viewing difficulties as venturing stones instead of detours. Practice persistence with yourself. Reevaluating cynicism isn't tied in with disregarding your sentiments or it is amazing to imagine everything. It's tied in with recognizing your battles while deciding to see the master plan. Give yourself effortlessness as you work through extreme feelings, and recollect that each step in the right direction, regardless of how little, is progress. At the point when you train your psyche to see cynicism as a chance for development, you'll find that life's difficulties become less scary. They'll change into minutes that shape you into a more grounded, savvier, and more competent variant of yourself. The capacity to reevaluate exists in you. Transforming mishaps into comebacks is your decision. Part 4. Become the best at self-control. Self-restraint is the groundwork of mental strength. It's the capacity to do what should be finished in any event when you don't want to make it happen. Whether it's getting up right on time to work out, adhering to a spending plan, or reading up for a significant test, self-restraint is the power that overcomes any barrier between your objectives and your achievements. Without it, even the best aims miss the mark. Yet, the uplifting news is, self-control is an expertise you can work with training and consistency. The most vital phase in dominating self-control is to characterize your objectives plainly. You can't remain trained in the event that you don't know what you're pursuing. Find opportunity to distinguish the main thing to you. Ask yourself, what is it that I need to accomplish and what difference does it make? At the point when your for what reason is sufficient, it becomes more straightforward to remain fixed on your objectives, in any event when interruptions emerge. Then, break your objectives into more modest, reasonable advances. Major objectives can feel overpowering, which frequently prompts tarrying. Rather than zeroing in on the whole mountain, center around slowly and carefully. For instance, in the event that you want to compose a book, begin by focusing on composing 300 words per day. Little wins gather speed and cause bigger errands to feel reachable. Making a routine is one more key component of self-restraint. Propensities eliminate the requirement for steady navigation and determination. For example, if you need to work out routinely, set a particular time every day for your exercises. By transforming your objectives into non-debatable pieces of your timetable, you lessen the possibility skipping them. Consistency is the trick of the trade, in any event, when inspiration winds down. Killing interruptions and temptations is likewise significant. Our current circumstance affects our way of behaving. In the event that you're attempting to eat better, don't keep unhealthy food in the house. On the off chance that you really want to zero in on a task, switch off notices and make a work area liberated from interruptions. Placing yourself in a good position makes it simpler to remain restrained. Obviously, self-restraint requires poise, and there will be minutes when allurement strikes. In those minutes, help yourself to remember the drawn-out advantages of your activities. For instance, skirting an exercise could feel much better at the time. However, remaining reliable with your wellness routine will prompt better well-being, certainty, and energy. Train your brain to focus on what's in store, prizes over prompt satisfaction. Remember to remunerate yourself for your endeavors. Self-control doesn't mean denying yourself. It's tied in with making balance. Praise your advancement, regardless of how little, and recognize the work you've placed in. Rewards support positive way of behaving and make it almost certain that you'll keep focused. Dominating self-restraint isn't tied in with being awesome. It's tied in with appearing for yourself many days and settling on decisions that line up with your objectives. There will be difficulties, and that is not a problem. What makes a difference is that you continue onward, gain from your slip-ups, and remain focused on turning into your best self. With self-restraint, you can accomplish anything you put your energy into. Section 5. Building mental strength. Mental flexibility is the capacity to return from difficulty, to recuperate rapidly from misfortunes, and to continue to push ahead regardless of what life tosses at you. The inward strength permits you to persevere through difficulties, adjust to change, and flourish even notwithstanding trouble. Building mental flexibility isn't something that comes about more or less by accident. It's a deep-rooted course of development, self-reflection, and practice. Fortunately, anybody can foster flexibility with the right outlook and propensities. To fabricate flexibility, the initial step is to move your point of view on difficulties. Rather than considering them to be issues or snags, View them as any open doors for development. Strong individuals comprehend that each trouble accompanies an illustration. Ask yourself, what might I at any point gain from this experience? Whether it's creating persistence, critical thinking abilities, or close-to-home strength, challenges frequently give the devices you want to become more grounded. One more significant part of strength is mindfulness. Carve out opportunity to grasp your feelings, contemplations, and triggers. At the point when you understand what worries you or makes you feel overpowered, you can all the more likely set yourself up to deal with those circumstances. Journaling can be an extraordinary method for investigating your sentiments and recognize designs in your responses. The more you comprehend yourself, the better prepared you are to answer difficulty in a solid manner. Developing areas of strength for a framework is likewise fundamental for flexibility. Encircle yourself with individuals who elevate you, empower you, and give a listening ear when challenges are out of hand. Strong individuals don't attempt to confront everything alone. They know the benefit of resting on confided in companions, family, or coaches for direction and backing. Building associations with others gives solace during difficult situations, yet additionally advises you that you're in good company in your battles. One more key to strength is rehearsing taking care of oneself. At the point when you deal with your physical, profound, and emotional well-being, you construct major areas of strength for that can endure life's difficulties. Focus on exercises that sustain you, like working out, eating nutritious food sources, getting sufficient rest, and taking part in leisure activities that give you pleasure. Keep in mind, strength doesn't mean disregarding your own requirements. It implies perceiving when you really want to rest, re-energize, and pull together. Strength likewise requires figuring out how to actually oversee pressure. Stress is an ordinary piece of life, yet it can become overpowering in the event that not took care of appropriately. Foster pressure the executive strategies that work for you, like profound breathing, reflection, or in any event, enjoying short reprieves to clear your brain. By overseeing pressure, you remain mentally collected and made in the face out of hardships, which makes it more straightforward to track down arrangements and push ahead. One of the main parts of flexibility is the capacity to rethink disappointment. Tough people don't see disappointment as an endpoint. They consider it to be important for the excursion. Each disappointment is an amazing chance to learn, develop, and attempt once more with more noteworthy insight. When things don't go as expected, rather than surrendering, ask yourself, what could I at any point do any other way sometime later, and how might I utilize this experience to move along? By re-examining disappointment as input, you foster a mentality that flourishes with development as opposed flawlessly. Center around encouraging good faith and appreciation. Flexibility is profoundly associated with your point of view. At the point when you decide to zero in on the upsides, even in tough spots, you develop the fortitude to continue to push ahead. Practice appreciation by considering the things you're grateful for every day, regardless of how little. Appreciation moves your consideration away based on what's turning out badly and features what's going right, which powers your versatility. Building mental versatility is a deep-rooted venture. It requires persistence, self-sympathy, and a readiness to develop through difficulties. Yet, the more you practice, the more grounded you become. Versatility doesn't mean staying away from torment or trouble. It implies embracing it, gaining from it, and transcending it. With versatility, you don't simply endure life's difficulties. You flourish as a result of them. Part 6: Expert Close-to-Home Control. Profound control is one of the most basic parts of mental strength. It's the capacity to perceive, make do, and direct your feelings such that serves you as opposed to subverts you. Without close-to-home control, your sentiments can overwhelm your choices, prompting imprudent activities, laments, and superfluous pressure. However, when you ace your feelings, you assume responsibility for your life, answering insightfully to circumstances as opposed to responding hastily. The initial step to dominating close-to-home control is to foster profound mindfulness. This implies focusing on how you feel at the time and figuring out the purposes for those feelings. Ask yourself, what am I feeling at present? For what reason am I feeling as such? Journaling your feelings or considering them by the day's end can assist you with recognizing examples and triggers. When you're mindful of your profound states, you can start to really oversee them. One amazing asset for close-to-home control is care. Care trains you to remain present and notice your considerations and sentiments without judgment. At the point when you're careful, you make a respite between your feelings and your activities. For instance, in the event that somebody offers something disturbing as opposed to responding furiously, you can stop, recognize your disappointment, and pick a more productive reaction. Rehearsing care routinely through contemplation or essentially zeroing in on your breath during distressing minutes can fundamentally work on your close-to-home guideline. One more fundamental part of profound control is figuring out how to oversee gloomy feelings. Sentiments like outrage, dissatisfaction, dread, and misery are normal, yet they don't need to control you. Rather than stifling these feelings, recognize them and allow yourself to feel them. Whenever you've done that, divert them in a sound way. For example, assuming that you're irate, think about working out, journaling, or conversing with somebody you trust. These outlets permit you to handle your feelings without allowing them to direct your activities. Reevaluating your viewpoint can likewise assist you with dealing with feelings. Frequently, our sentiments are impacted by the manner in which we decipher occasions. On the off chance that you decipher a mix-up as a disappointment, you're probably going to feel deterred. Yet in the event that you see it as a valuable open door, you'll feel roused to get to the next level. Ask yourself, is there one more method for checking what is going on out? How might I transform this into something positive? By moving your point of view, you assume command over how you feel about some random circumstance. Building profound control additionally includes rehearsing tolerance and postpone satisfaction. In snapshots of high inclination, it's enticing to act right away, whether it's raging at somebody out of resentment or going with a rash choice out of dread. Yet profound control implies opposing that desire. Take a full breath, build up to 10, or step away from the circumstance. Giving yourself an opportunity to quiet down permits you to answer from a position of lucidity and mindfulness. It means quite a bit to zero in on developing positive feelings like appreciation, euphoria, and sympathy. Good feelings don't simply encourage you, they likewise fabricate your profound strength. Begin by rehearsing appreciation day to day, whether it's through journaling or just considering the things you're grateful for. Encircle yourself with individuals and exercises that give you pleasure. At the point when you effectively develop inspiration, you make a cushion against gloomy feelings, making it simpler to remain adjusted. Profound control likewise requires areas of strength for creating abilities. At the point when feelings run high, misconceptions and clashes can heighten rapidly. Figure out how to communicate your sentiments in a quiet, helpful way, utilizing explanations like, "I feel upset when this occurs," as opposed to accusing or denouncing others. Clear, aware correspondence forestalls close-to-home eruptions and assists you with keeping up with sound connections. Recollect that close-to-home control doesn't mean stifling your feelings or imagining you feel nothing. It implies tolerating your sentiments, figuring out them, and involving them as an aid instead of an expert. Profound control is tied in with tracking down balance, regarding your feelings while remaining responsible for your activities and choices. Dominating profound control takes practice, persistence, and mindfulness. There will be minutes when your feelings get the better of you, and that is fine. What makes a difference is your obligation to learning and developing. Over the long haul, as you foster this expertise, you'll end up exploring life's difficulties with more noteworthy clearness, tranquility, and certainty. Close-to-home control isn't tied in with being aloof. It's tied in with being sincerely enabled. Section 7, The Restrained Life, Becoming Relentless. Carrying on with a trained life is the way to opening your maximum capacity and becoming relentless. Discipline is the underpinning of progress. It's the capacity to remain fixed on your objectives, gain reliable headway, and oppose interruptions that attempt to crash you. While inspiration might kick you off, discipline pushes you along. The trained life is generally difficult, yet it's the way to accomplishing phenomenal outcomes and living with reason. The initial step to a restrained life is having a reasonable vision of what you need to accomplish. You can't be focused without an objective at the top of the priority list. Get some margin to set explicit, quantifiable, and significant objectives. Ask yourself, what is it that I really need, and for what reason is it vital to me? Having areas of strength for and energizes your discipline, particularly when the excursion gets intense. Record your objectives on paper and return to them frequently to help yourself to remember your motivation. Then, make a normal that lines up with your objectives. Discipline blossoms with consistency, and schedules kill the need to depend on resolution alone. Plan an everyday timetable that incorporates time for your needs, whether it's working out, dealing with an expertise, or seeking after a drawn-out project. At the point when these exercises become non-debatable pieces of your day, you're more averse to skip them. Begin little if important. Indeed, even 10 minutes of centered exertion can gather speed after some time. Wiping out interruptions is one more basic component of discipline. In this day and age, it's not difficult to get diverted online entertainment, vast warnings, or useless propensities. To remain trained, recognize what your concentrate away, and find proactive ways to eliminate those interruptions. This could mean defining limits with your telephone, making a committed work area, or expressing no to responsibilities that don't line up with your objectives. Keep in mind, each second invested on interruptions is energy detracted from your development. Responsibility is likewise an incredible asset for discipline. Share your objectives with somebody you trust, or find a responsibility accomplice who will monitor your advancement. Knowing that another person is watching can spur you to keep focused. On the other hand, keep a diary where you track your everyday activities and consider your advancement. Evaluating your successes and difficulties assists you with remaining focused on your excursion. One more significant part of discipline is figuring out how to defer satisfaction. In a universe of moment rewards, discipline expects you to focus on long-haul acquires over transient delights. For instance, skirting an evening of television to study or exercise might feel hard at the time, yet the prizes, more noteworthy information, better well-being, and expanded certainty, are definitely worth the penance. Train your psyche to zero in on the master plan and help yourself to remember the advantages looking out for the opposite side of your endeavors. Discipline doesn't mean being unbending or never enjoying reprieves. It's about balance. Rest and recuperation are similarly essentially as significant as difficult work. Incorporate time into your daily schedule to unwind, re-energize, and do things that give you pleasure. This forestalls burnout and assists you with remaining restrained over the long haul. Treat taking care of oneself as a type of discipline. It's an interest in your psychological and actual prosperity. One of the best difficulties to train is managing mishaps. Regardless of how committed you are, there will be days when you miss the mark. What separates trained people is their capacity to return rapidly. Rather than allowing a terrible day to crash your headway, ponder what turned out badly and make an arrangement to get to the next level. Advise yourself that discipline isn't tied in with being awesome. It's tied in with showing up reliably, even after you stagger. Commend your advancement. Discipline doesn't mean denying yourself euphoria or fulfillment. Reward yourself for achievements and recognize the work you've placed in. These prizes support your propensities and keep you inspired to proceed. Perceive that every little step you take is carrying you nearer to your definitive objective. Carrying on with a restrained life requires exertion. However, the prizes are extraordinary. With discipline, you can accomplish objectives you once believed were incomprehensible. You'll foster a feeling of satisfaction, certainty, and command over your life. Discipline isn't about limitation, it's about opportunity. At the point when you live with discipline, you free yourself from interruptions, delaying, and lament. You become the sort of individual who dreams as well as makes those fantasies a reality. This is the means by which you become relentless. Part 8. Oversee pressure actually. Stress is a characteristic piece of life. It's your body's approach to answering difficulties, whether they're physical, mental, or close to home. While some pressure can be useful, pushing you to perform under tension or persuading you to fulfill time constraints, a lot of pressure, particularly when unmanaged, can negatively affect your psychological and actual well-being. Overseeing pressure really is a foundation of mental strength, permitting you to remain cool-headed, centered, and strong regardless of what life tosses your direction. The initial step to overseeing pressure is grasping its source. Stress frequently emerges when you feel overpowered, ill-equipped, or wild. Pause for a minute to recognize what's causing your pressure. Is it an approaching cutoff time? A troublesome discussion you've been keeping away from? Or maybe it's a mix of more modest concerns stacking up. When you pinpoint the source, you can find noteworthy ways to address it. Keep in mind, clearness is the initial step to control. One of the best ways of overseeing pressure is to break assignments into more modest, reasonable advances. At the point when you're confronted with an enormous task or a complicated issue, feeling deadened by the extent of the challenge is simple. Rather than attempting to handle everything simultaneously, partition it into more modest parts and spotlight on with extra care. This causes the errand to feel less overpowering, yet in addition provides you with a feeling of progress with each step you complete. Rehearsing profound breathing and unwinding procedures is one more remarkable method for decreasing pressure. At the point when you're worried, your body enters a condition of survival which can prompt shallow breathing, expanded pulse, and strain. Requiring a couple of moments to rehearse profound, purposeful breaths can indicate to your body that it's protected to unwind. Take a stab at breathing in profoundly through your nose for a count of 4, pausing your breathing for 4 counts, and breathing out leisurely for a count of 6. Rehash this cycle a couple of times to quiet your brain and body. One more fundamental part of pressure the executives is focusing on taking care of oneself. Frequently, when we're anxious, taking care of oneself is the primary thing to go. However, disregarding your necessities just adds to the issue. Set aside a few minutes for exercises that restore you. Whether it's taking a walk, perusing a book, pondering, or investing energy with friends and family. Standard activity is especially successful at lessening pressure since it discharges endorphins, the body's regular pressure relievers. Building an emotionally supportive network is likewise pivotal for overseeing pressure. Offering your contemplations and sentiments to a confided-in companion, relative, or tutor can relieve your close-to-home burden. At times, just discussing what's irritating you can bring help and give a new point of view on the circumstance. If necessary, go ahead and proficient assistance. Specialists and advisors can offer important apparatuses and direction for exploring upsetting times. Time usage assumes a huge part in pressure decrease too. Feeling surged or bogged down can intensify feelings of anxiety. Make a reasonable timetable that permits you to focus on your most significant undertakings while likewise leaving space for breaks and free time. Figure out how to express no to responsibilities that don't line up with your needs. Keep in mind your significant investment are restricted assets. Spend them carefully. Stress the executives likewise includes taking on a mentality of acknowledgement and flexibility. Not all that in that frame of mind inside your control, and opposing what you can't change just adds to your pressure. All things considered, center around what you have some control over, your activities, responses, and viewpoint. Work on relinquishing the requirement for flawlessness and embrace adaptability. Life is loaded with vulnerabilities, yet your capacity to adjust makes you more grounded. Developing a feeling of appreciation can likewise assist with relieving pressure. While you're feeling overpowered, pause for a minute to ponder what's working out positively in your life. Appreciation moves your concentration based on what's going on to one side, making a feeling of equilibrium and point of view. Indeed, even in testing times, there's continuously something to be grateful for. Try not to misjudge the force of rest and recuperation. Persistent pressure can deplete your energy and influence your psychological lucidity, so it's fundamental to focus on quality rest and enjoy reprieves when required. Rest is certainly not an indication of shortcoming. It's an important piece of major areas of strength for remaining powerful. Pay attention to your body and give it the consideration it merits. Overseeing pressure successfully is an expertise that takes practice and purposefulness. However, it's perhaps of the most important ability you can create. At the point when you figure out how to deal with pressure, you free yourself from the tumult it makes and gain the capacity to move toward life's difficulties with a reasonable brain and consistent heart. With the right instruments and attitude, stress becomes not a deterrent, but rather a potential chance to develop further, savvier, and stronger. Section 9. Fabricate strength through disappointment. Disappointment is an unavoidable piece of life, Yet the way that you answer it decides if it turns into a road obstruction or a venturing stone. Intellectually tough individuals view disappointment not as the end, but rather as a basic piece of the excursion towards progress. Building strength through disappointment is tied in with moving your attitude, gaining from mishaps, and involving them as any open doors for development. It's tied in with embracing difficulties, continuing on through hardships, and becoming more grounded with each stagger. The most vital phase in building versatility through disappointment is to reevaluate the way that you see it. Many individuals partner disappointment with shortcoming, deficiency, or route. This conviction can prompt anxiety toward attempting, evasion of difficulties, and self-question. Yet, disappointment isn't something contrary to progress. It's a vital fixing. Each extraordinary accomplishment is based on an underpinning of difficulties, missteps, and illustrations learned. Consider disappointment input, a method for finding what doesn't work so you can find what does. At the point when you begin to see disappointment as an educator, it loses its ability to threaten you. Quite possibly the main thing you can do in the wake of encountering disappointment is to ponder it. Carve out opportunity to dissect what occurred and why. Ask yourself, what turned out badly? What might I at any point have done any other way? What did I gain from this experience? By responding to these inquiries genuinely, you gain important bits of knowledge that can direct your future activities. Reflection transforms disappointment into a useful asset for development and personal growth. Versatility through disappointment additionally requires relinquishing hair-splitting. Many individuals battle with the possibility of disappointment since they set ridiculously exclusive requirements for themselves. They accept that anything short of flawlessness is unsatisfactory, which just expands the strain to keep away from botches. However, flawlessness is a deception, and the quest for it frequently prompts tarrying, burnout, and feeling of dread toward facing challenges. All things being equal center around progress over flawlessness. Acknowledge that missteps are essential for the cycle and that everyone carries you nearer to your objectives. One more key to building strength is fostering a development outlook. This is the conviction that your capacities, insight, and gifts can be created through exertion, learning, and industriousness. Individuals with a development outlook view disappointment as a potential chance to improve as opposed to an impression of their value. They embrace difficulties, continue despite mishaps, and consider work to be a way to dominance. To develop a development mentality, begin by supplanting negative self-talk with positive, enabling explanations. Rather than saying, "I'm bad at this," have a go at saying, "I'm actually learning and I'll get better with training." Support from others can likewise assume a pivotal part in building versatility. Disappointment can feel disconnecting, yet you don't need to confront it single-handedly. Contact companions, family, tutors, or associates who can offer support, exhortation, and viewpoint. Discussing your encounters can assist you with handling them all the more successfully and advise you that disappointment is something everybody goes through. Sharing your battles can likewise fortify your associations with others, making a feeling of local area and backing. Strength through disappointment likewise includes making a move. When confronted with misfortunes, it's not difficult to fall into the snare of overthinking, harping on what turned out badly, or questioning your capacities. Yet, the most ideal way to move past disappointment is to continue onward. Take what you've gained from the experience and apply it to your following stages. Indeed, even little activities can gather speed and reestablish your certainty. Keep in mind, versatility isn't tied in with staying away from disappointment. It's tied in with getting back up each time you fall. Commending your advancement, even notwithstanding failure, is likewise significant. Perceive the work you've placed in, the dangers you've taken, and the boldness it took to attempt. Praise the examples you've learned and the development you've encountered. By zeroing in on these upsides, you shift your consideration away from what you didn't accomplish and toward what you did. Practice self-empathy. Disappointment can be genuinely difficult, prompting sensations of disillusionment, dissatisfaction, or self-analysis. Indulge yourself with thoughtfulness and understanding during these times. Advise yourself that disappointment is a characteristic piece of life and that it doesn't characterize your value. Allow yourself to feel disheartened. However, don't allow it to consume you. Self-empathy permits you to recuperate all the more rapidly and move toward future difficulties with a restored feeling of assurance. Building flexibility through disappointment is an excursion that requires tolerance, fortitude, and diligence. It's tied in with embracing the difficulties, gaining from your mix-ups, and proceeding to push ahead. Each disappointment you experience can possibly show you something important and to fortify your personality. With every mishap, you become stronger, more skilled, and more ready for whatever comes straight away. Keep in mind, flexibility isn't about never falling flat. It's about never surrendering. Part 10: Cultivate a development outlook. A development mentality is the conviction that your capacities, knowledge, and potential are not fixed characteristics, but rather can be created through commitment, exertion, and learning. This outlook is the groundwork of mental strength, flexibility, and achievement. At the point when you encourage a development mentality, you free yourself up to potential outcomes, embrace difficulties, and consider disappointments to be valuable chances to develop. Developing this outlook takes deliberate practice, yet it can change each part of your life. The initial step to encouraging a development mentality is perceiving and testing fixed outlook considerations. A proper outlook is the conviction that your gifts and capacities are firmly established, that you're either great at something or you're not. This perspective makes dread of disappointment and limits your eagerness to face challenges. For instance, you could think, I'm simply not a numerical individual, or I won't ever be great at public talking. To move to a development mentality, supplant these considerations with ones like, I can improve with training, or I haven't dominated this yet, however I'm equipped for learning. One more key component of a development outlook is embracing difficulties. Individuals with a proper mentality frequently keep away from troublesome errands since they dread looking clumsy or falling flat. Notwithstanding, challenges are where development occurs. At the point when you get out of your usual range of familiarity, you stretch your boundaries, acquire new abilities, and construct trust in your capacities. Begin by rethinking difficulties as any open doors. Rather than thinking, this is excessively hard, tell yourself, this is an opportunity to develop further. Encouraging a development outlook likewise implies seeing exertion as a pathway to dominance instead of an indication of insufficiency. In a decent mentality, individuals frequently trust that, assuming they're really capable, they shouldn't need to buckle down. This conviction subverts progress and prompts disappointment when achievement doesn't come without any problem. Conversely, a development outlook perceives that work is fundamental for development. Consistently you spend rehearsing, each difficulty you survive, and each error you gain from carries you nearer to your objectives. Commend the work you put into your development. It's an indication of solidarity, not shortcoming. Disappointment is another region where a development outlook sparkles. In a proper mentality, disappointment is viewed as confirmation of deficiency, which can prompt trepidation, evasion, and stagnation. In any case, in a development mentality, disappointment is seen as criticism. It's a chance to realize what doesn't work and adapt. When you fall flat, ask yourself, what did I gain from this? How might I utilize this experience to move along? By embracing disappointment as a characteristic piece of development, you eliminate its ability to keep you down. Input from others is likewise an important device for cultivating a development mentality. While analysis can feel awkward, it's generally expected the way to progress. Rather than becoming protective or deterred, move toward criticism with interest and transparency. Ask yourself, what could I at any point take from this to turn out to be better? The capacity to get and apply helpful analysis is a sign of a development mentality. Encircling yourself with positive impacts can likewise assist you with fostering a development outlook. Search out tutors, companions, or partners who motivate you to develop and move you to reach higher. Stay away from conditions or individuals who support fixed outlook convictions. For example, the people who center exclusively around normal ability or excuse the worth of difficult work. At the point when you're encircled by development-arranged people, their mentality will normally impact yours. One more significant practice for encouraging a development outlook is appreciation. Recognize the headway you've made, the difficulties you've survived, and the valuable open doors you've needed to learn. Appreciation moves your concentration from what you need to what you have, making a positive pattern of inspiration and development. Keep a diary to ponder your everyday successes and the examples you've learned. A basic propensity builds up a development-situated viewpoint. Self-sympathy is likewise fundamental in fostering a development mentality. Development is a cycle, and mishaps are inescapable. Rather than thumping yourself when you miss the mark, indulge yourself with generosity and consolation. Advise yourself that progress makes time and that each stride, regardless of how little, is a step in the right direction. Self-empathy assists you with remaining strong notwithstanding difficulties and keeps you persuaded to continue learning and getting to the next level. Take on the mantra, yet, when confronted with a test or expertise you haven't dominated, add the word "at this point" to your viewpoints. For instance, "I don't grasp this idea yet," or "I'm bad at this yet." This straightforward shift advises you that development is an excursion and that your ongoing skills are not your last objective. Cultivating a development outlook is one of the most enabling movements you can make in your life. It changes how you approach difficulties, handle mishaps, and seek after your objectives. With a development mentality, there's no such thing as disappointment, just chances to learn and get to the next level. You start to see potential all over and trust in your capacity to accomplish it. The more you develop this attitude, the more you'll find that your conceivable outcomes are boundless and the main genuine cutoff points are the ones you set for yourself. Section 11. The force of consistency is the peaceful power behind each incredible accomplishment. There's no need to focus on rolling out emotional improvements short-term, however, about appearing consistently and gaining consistent headway toward your objectives. While ability and inspiration can give an early advantage, consistency supports accomplishment over the long haul. The fact that turns exertion into results makes whether you're attempting to fabricate an expertise, foster a propensity, or accomplish a major dream, consistency the key. The initial step to outfitting the force of consistency is grasping that little activities, rehashed routinely, lead to huge results over the long run. It's not difficult to underrate the worth of little endeavors, particularly when the outcomes aren't promptly noticeable. However, similarly as a drop of water can ultimately wear out a stone, predictable exertion intensifies after some time. For instance, composing only 300 words a day probably won't seem like a lot, yet throughout the span of a year, that is a book. Essentially, 15 minutes of everyday workout may not yield prompt wellness, but rather over months, it changes your body and brain. To construct consistency, begin by laying out sensible and explicit objectives. Obscure expectations like "I need to get better" or "I need to set aside cash" are more earnestly to adhere to than substantial ones like "I'll stroll for 30 minutes consistently" or "I'll save $100 every month." Clear objectives give you a guide and gain it simpler to follow your headway. Break these objectives into more modest, noteworthy stages so they feel sensible as opposed to overpowering. Making a routine is fundamental for remaining reliable. At the point when you integrate your objectives into your everyday timetable, they become propensities instead of decisions you need to more than once make. For example, to understand more, put away a particular time every day, like 20 minutes before bed. On the off chance that you're attempting to gain proficiency with another expertise, shut out a steady time in your schedule for training. Over the long haul, these schedules become natural, decreasing the requirement for resolution or inspiration. Responsibility is one more amazing asset for consistency. Share your objectives with a confided-in companion, relative, or mentor who can monitor your advancement. Knowing that another person knows about your responsibilities can give additional inspiration to remain focused. On the other hand, utilize a diary or application to log your everyday endeavors and consider your advancement. Following your consistency assists you with perceiving designs, praise wins, and address difficulties. Consistency additionally requires versatility. There will be days when you don't want to appear, when you're drained, deterred, or enticed to stop. On those days, remind yourself why you began and center around moving forward. Indeed, even the littlest exertion keeps your force alive. Keep in mind, consistency isn't tied in with being awesome. It's tied in with appearing generally. Missing a day doesn't mean disappointment. It's simply a temporary obstacle. What is important is refocusing. One of the greatest obstructions to consistency is the quest for flawlessness. Many individuals quit when they don't see quick outcomes or when they commit an error. In any case, progress is seldom straight, and misfortunes are important for the cycle. Embrace the possibility that defective activity is superior to no activity by any stretch of the imagination. Each work, regardless of how little or imperfect, adds to your development. One more significant part of consistency is tolerance. In a universe of moment satisfaction, it's not difficult to get baffled when results take time. Be that as it may, significant change doesn't come about more or less by accident. Trust the cycle and spotlight on the excursion as opposed to the objective. Commend the headway you're making, regardless of whether it's sluggish. Consistency is tied in with remembering the big picture, realizing that your endeavors will take care of eventually. Building consistency likewise includes establishing a climate that upholds your objectives. Eliminate interruptions and put yourself in a good position. Assuming you're attempting to eat better, stock your kitchen with nutritious food varieties. If you have any desire to work out consistently, keep your exercise garments prepared. Your current circumstance affects your way of behaving, so make it as simple as conceivable to remain reliable. Make sure to remunerate yourself for your endeavors. Consistency can be testing, so recognizing your advancement helps keep you roused. Rewards don't need to be lavish. They can be pretty much as straightforward as enjoying some time off, indulging yourself with something you appreciate, or praising your achievements with friends and family. Perceiving your persistent effort supports the propensity and urges you to continue onward. The force of consistency lies in its capacity to make enduring change. It's actually not necessary to focus on emotional one-time endeavors, yet about appearing many days, regardless of how little the activity. With consistency, you fabricate propensities, foster discipline, and accomplish objectives that once appeared to be far off. Over the long haul, these steady endeavors compound, changing your outcomes, yet in addition your identity personally. At the point when you embrace consistency, you open a strong power that can convey you to progress in any part of your life. Section 12 Structure Fearlessness from inside self-assurance is one of the most useful assets for making progress and joy, yet it should come from inside to be really immovable. At the point when your certainty is established in outer approval, similar to the endorsement of others or brief accomplishments, it can falter when conditions change. Be that as it may, building self-assurance from inside gives you the strength to confront difficulties, defeat mishaps, and trust in your capacities regardless. The excursion to building fearlessness begins with mindfulness. Carve out opportunity to consider your assets, gifts, and achievements. Record them on paper and help yourself to remember what you offer that would be useful. Frequently, individuals center around their blemishes or what they need. However, moving your consideration regarding your positive characteristics makes a strong starting point for certainty. Praise your remarkable capacities, and recollect that you bring something significant to the table. Then, practice self-acknowledgement. Certainty doesn't mean accepting you're great, it implies tolerating yourself as you are, imperfections whatnot. Perceive that everybody has qualities and shortcomings, and your flaws don't characterize your value. Embrace the possibility that development is a long-lasting excursion, and spotlight on progress instead of flawlessness. At the point when you acknowledge yourself completely, you discharge the need to contrast yourself with others and track down trust in your credibility. One more key part of self-assurance is setting and accomplishing little, reasonable objectives. Certainty develops through activity. Begin by putting forth an objective that is testing yet feasible, and find predictable ways to accomplish it. Each time you completely finish, you fabricate trust in your capacity to succeed. These little wins gather over the long run, supporting your confidence in yourself. Whether it's mastering another expertise, finishing a task, or beating a trepidation, each achievement fortifies your inward certainty. Fearlessness likewise requires getting out of your usual range of familiarity. It's not difficult to feel positive about recognizable circumstances, yet genuine development happens when you challenge yourself. Attempt new encounters, face challenges, and embrace vulnerability. Regardless of whether things go impeccably, the demonstration of attempting constructs strength and instructs you that you're equipped for dealing with whatever comes your direction. After some time, you'll extend your usual range of familiarity, and assignments that once felt threatening will turn out to be natural. Figuring out how to quiet your inward pundit is one more essential move toward building certainty. According to that basic voice in your mind that you're not adequate or you will fizzle can sabotage even the most grounded self-conviction. Rather than allowing these contemplations to control you, challenge them. Ask yourself, is this thought valid? What proof do I need to help it? Frequently, you'll observe that your inward pundit depends on dread as opposed to truth. Supplant negative self-talk with positive certifications like, I'm able or I have the stuff to succeed. Dealing with your physical and psychological wellness likewise assumes a huge part in self-assurance. At the point when you feel solid, sound, and stimulated, you normally feel more sure. Focus on ordinary activity, nutritious eating, and adequate rest. Take part in exercises that diminish pressure and lift your state of mind, similar to contemplation, leisure activities, or investing energy in nature. At the point when you feel far better about yourself actually and inwardly, extending trust in different parts of your life is more straightforward. It means quite a bit to construct a strong climate. Encircle yourself with individuals who have faith in you, support you, and commend your triumphs. Stay away from the people who continually scrutinize or cut you down. Positive connections support your certainty and give a security net during testing times. Simultaneously, be aware of the impact of online entertainment. On the off chance that you end up contrasting your existence with the feature reels of others, have some time off and zero in on your own excursion. One more impressive system for creating self-assurance is gaining from disappointment. For creating self-assurance is gaining from disappointment. Certainty doesn't come from never committing errors. It comes from realizing that you can recuperate and develop further after misfortunes. At the point when you fall flat, view it as a potential chance to learn and get to the next level. Consider what didn't work, make changes, and attempt once more. Each time you beat disappointment, you assemble strength and support the conviction that you can deal with anything life tosses at you. Recollect that certainty is an expertise, not a decent quality. It's something you can develop and fortify after some time. Show restraint toward yourself and perceive that building certainty is a cycle. Commend your advancement, regardless of how little, and continue to push forward. Certainty isn't tied in with being daring. It's tied in with making a move regardless of your feelings of trepidation and demonstrating to yourself that you can succeed. Building fearlessness from inside changes the manner in which you approach life. It gives you the fortitude to seek after your fantasies, the versatility to beat difficulties, and the faith in your capacity to accomplish anything you put your energy into. At the point when you confide in yourself and your true capacity, there's no restriction to what you can achieve. Genuine certainty isn't about egotism or flawlessness. It's tied in with claiming what your identity is and venturing into your power. Part 13. Fostering a steadfast hard-working attitude. An unwavering hard-working attitude is the foundation of accomplishment, strength, and self-awareness. It's the discipline to appear consistently, do the best that you can with, and remain focused on your objectives, in any event, when inspiration disappears or challenges emerge. Fostering serious areas of strength for an ethic doesn't simply assist you with achieving undertakings. It changes your personality and constructs a standing for unwavering quality, tirelessness, and greatness. The underpinning of a strong, hard-working attitude starts with characterizing your motivation. Realizing your why gives you the drive to continue to push forward, even on extreme days. Ask yourself, for what reason is this objective vital to me? How might accomplishing it affect my future? An unmistakable feeling of direction gives concentration and energizes your responsibility. At the point when you're profoundly associated with your justification for buckling down, it becomes more straightforward to remain devoted regardless of the snags. Laying out clear objectives is one more critical component of a solid hard-working attitude. Break your bigger targets into more modest, noteworthy stages. This causes your objectives to feel more attainable, yet additionally assists you with following advancement en route. For instance, in the event that you want to send off a business, separate it into undertakings like exploring your market, making a strategy, and setting up a site. Each step finished supports your responsibility and gathers speed. Consistency is the foundation of an unflinching, hard-working attitude. There's really no need to focus on doing exceptional things incidentally. It's tied in with appearing each and every day and investing the energy. Lay out a normal that focuses on your most significant errands and stick to it. Whether it's devoting 2 hours per day to contemplating, rehearsing an expertise for 30 minutes, or focusing on standard activity, steady exertion over the long run prompts uncommon outcomes. In any event, when progress feels slow, trust the cycle and continue onward. One more basic part of hard-working attitude is figuring out how to embrace difficult work. Achievement is generally quite difficult, and the ability to invest the energy isolates the individuals who accomplish their objectives from the people who don't. Shift your outlook to see difficult work as an open door as opposed to a weight. Rather than thinking, this is a lot of exertion, tell yourself, this work is carrying me nearer to my fantasies. At the point when you embrace the toil, you fabricate strength and mental sturdiness. Time usage assumes a critical part in fostering serious areas of strength for an ethic. Without powerful using time effectively, even all that expectations can prompt stalling or burnout. Begin by recognizing your needs and putting together your day around them. Use devices like organizers, plans for the day, or computerized applications to successfully structure your time. Stay away from performing multiple tasks as it can weaken your concentration and decrease efficiency. All things considered, focus on each errand in turn and actually focus on it. Responsibility is one more integral asset for developing areas of strength for an ethic. Share your objectives with somebody you trust, or find a tutor who can direct you and consider you responsible. Knowing that another person knows about your responsibilities can inspire you to keep focused. Moreover, get a sense of ownership with your activities and results. At the point when you own your triumphs and disappointments, you enable yourself to learn and get to the next level. Creating strength is likewise fundamental for keeping major areas of strength for an ethic. There will be mishaps, disappointments, and snapshots of self-uncertainty en route. Rather than allowing these difficulties to crash you, use them as fuel to push harder. Versatile people view snags as any open doors to develop further. When something doesn't go as expected, think about what you can realize, change your methodology, and continue to push ahead. Keeping an inspirational perspective is one more foundation of an unwavering hard-working attitude. Your attitude impacts how you approach assignments and difficulties. Develop hopefulness by zeroing in on what you have some control over and searching for arrangements as opposed to harping on issues. An uplifting outlook doesn't mean disregarding hardships. It implies moving toward them with a confidence in your capacity to beat them. Self-restraint is vital to remaining focused on your objectives, particularly when inspiration blurs. Inspiration is momentary, yet discipline is solid. Train yourself to completely finish your responsibilities in any event when you don't feel like it. For instance, in the event that you've focused on awakening to deal with an undertaking, don't hit rest when the caution goes off. By respecting your vows to yourself, you assemble trust in your capacity to see everything through to completion. Praise your advancement. Fostering areas of strength for an ethic requires exertion, and recognizing your accomplishments, regardless of how little, builds up your responsibility. Find opportunity to think about how far you've come and the hindrances you've survived. Perceiving your advancement helps your certainty, yet additionally persuades you to continue onward. An unfaltering, hard-working attitude isn't about flawlessness. It's about perseverance. It's tied in with appearing, investing the energy, and remaining committed, regardless of how testing the excursion becomes. At the point when you develop this degree of devotion, you accomplish your objectives, yet additionally foster the person and versatility expected to deal with anything life tosses at you. A solid, hard-working attitude doesn't simply prompt achievement. It changes you into the individual fit for supporting it. Part 14, Embracing the Force of Appreciation, is perhaps of the most extraordinary power throughout everyday life. It moves your concentration based on what's missing to what's bountiful, from dissatisfaction to appreciation, and from antagonism to energy. While appreciation could appear to be a basic practice, its effect on mental strength, close-to-home prosperity, and flexibility is significant. Embracing the force of appreciation permits you to track down satisfaction right now, fabricate more grounded associations, and explore life's difficulties with a feeling of point of view and beauty. The initial step to developing appreciation is to make it an everyday practice. Begin by saving a couple of seconds every day to ponder the things you're grateful for. This can be essentially as straightforward as valuing a bright day, a nice thought from a companion, or the feast you recently delighted in. Recording these minutes in an appreciation diary can make the training much more impressive. Seeing your favors recorded as a hard copy builds up the propensity and gives a record you can return to during troublesome times. Appreciation isn't just about zeroing in on the upside. It's likewise about tracking down silver linings in tough spots. Difficulties and mishaps are an unavoidable piece of life, yet they frequently accompany stowed-away illustrations or open doors for development. For instance, losing an employment could lead you to find another vocation way that better lines up with your interests. Rather than harping exclusively on the difficulty, ask yourself, what could I at any point be appreciative for in this present circumstance? This outlook doesn't limit the trouble, yet assists you with pushing ahead with flexibility and trust. Offering thanks to others is one more method for extending its effect. Get some margin to thank individuals who have upheld, propelled, or helped you here and there. Whether it's a sincere discussion, a transcribed note, or a basic instant message, offering thanks reinforces connections and cultivates a feeling of association. It additionally helps you to remember the organization of help that encompasses you, which can be unimaginably establishing during testing times. Appreciation can likewise be a strong cure to pressure and cynicism. At the point when life feels overpowering, zeroing in on what's turning out badly is simple. In any case, appreciation moves your consideration regarding what's going right, regardless of how little. Indeed, even amidst disarray, there are dependable things to appreciate. A snapshot of harmony, the breath in your lungs, or the solidarity to continue onward. This change in center doesn't eradicate the difficulties, however assists you with moving toward them with a more quiet, more clear outlook. Rehearsing appreciation routinely can rework your cerebrum for energy. Neuroscience shows that reliably zeroing in on appreciation can increment movement in the cerebrum's prize communities, making you more receptive to positive encounters. After some time, this makes a criticism circle where seeing beneficial things turns out to be natural. Appreciation becomes something you practice, however a piece of what your identity is. Appreciation is likewise profoundly associated with self-esteem and self-acknowledgement. Frequently, we're challenging for ourselves, zeroing in on what we haven't accomplished or where we've missed the mark. Yet, appreciation assists you with valuing your own endeavors and progress. Set aside some margin to say thanks to yourself for the work you've placed in, the difficulties you've survived, and the flexibility you've shown. At the point when you practice self-appreciation, you fabricate a more grounded identity, regard, and inward harmony. One more method for embracing appreciation is by being available at the time. Frequently, we're so centered around future objectives or disappointments that we miss the magnificence of the present. Care rehearses like contemplation or just stopping to see your environmental factors can assist you with interfacing with the present time and place. At the point when you're completely present, it's simpler to see the value in the easily overlooked details. A grin from a more odd, the glow of the sun, or the sound of chuckling. Appreciation likewise energizes a development mentality. Rather than survey difficulties as unfavorable, appreciation assists you with considering them to be chances to develop further. At the point when you're thankful for the illustrations life shows you, even through challenges, you foster versatility and flexibility. This attitude permits you to move toward existence with interest and idealism, knowing that each experience, positive or negative, adds to your development. Recall that appreciation is a training, not a one-time occasion. Like any ability, it requires consistency and aim. Begin little and allow it to develop normally. The more you practice appreciation, the more it will end up being a piece of your day-to-day routine, impacting your thought process, feel, and act. Embracing the force of appreciation changes the manner in which you experience life. It assists you with tracking down euphoria in the standard, strength in affliction, and association in connections. Appreciation isn't tied in with overlooking life's difficulties. about perceiving the excellence and favors exist close by them. At the point when you live with appreciation, you develop a feeling of overflow and satisfaction that no situation can remove. Appreciation doesn't simply change what you see, it changes how you see everything. Section 15. Becoming the best at concentration in a world loaded up with interruptions. Excelling at center is quite possibly of the most important expertise you can create. Center is the capacity to coordinate your energy, consideration, and exertion toward the main thing, overlooking the commotion around you. It's the mysterious behind efficiency, imagination, and accomplishing long-haul objectives. Via preparing your psyche to center, you assume command over your time, expand your true capacity, and make significant advancement in each part of your life. The initial step to dominating center is figuring out your needs. Without clear objectives, it's not difficult to become involved with insignificant assignments or to extend yourself excessively far. Begin by recognizing the main thing to you. Ask yourself, what are my main 3 needs at this moment? When you have clearness, adjust your day-to-day exercises to these needs. Center isn't just about expressing yes to what makes a difference. It's tied in with expressing no to what doesn't. Establishing an interruption-free climate is fundamental for keeping up with center. Interruptions can emerge out of any place: notices on your telephone, a jumbled work area, or breaks from others. Find proactive ways to limit these interruptions. Switch off warnings, put down stopping points with people around you, and coordinate your work area to help efficiency. By establishing a climate that supports center, you make it simpler to keep focused. Using time effectively is one more basic part of concentration. Without structure, your day can immediately become tumultuous, making it hard to focus on significant undertakings. Use instruments like organizers, schedules, or time obstructing to assign explicit times for centered work. For instance, commit the initial 2 hours of your morning to profound work, errands that require your undivided focus and innovativeness. By planning time for center, you make a standard that supports your capacity to focus. The Pomodoro strategy is a demonstrated technique for improving concentration. It includes dealing with an errand for 25 minutes, then requiring a 5-minute break. After 4 cycles, enjoy some time off of 15 to 30 minutes. This approach assists you with keeping on track in short blasts while giving your mind standard spans to re-energize. Explore different avenues regarding the timing to find what turns out best for you, and utilize a clock to remain responsible. Concentrate additionally requires mental discipline. It's normal for your psyche to meander, particularly when confronted with testing or drawn-out undertakings. At the point when this occurs, delicately take your consideration back to the job that needs to be done. Practice care methods like zeroing in on your breath or utilizing a straightforward mantra to prepare your mind to remain present. Over the long haul, these practices reinforce your capacity to think. Understanding your energy levels is one more significant part of concentration. Everybody has times during the day when they're generally ready and useful. Recognize your pinnacle hours and timetable your most significant or requesting errands during this time. Save less basic undertakings, such as browsing messages or sorting out documents, for when your energy normally plunges. Working with your energy rather than against it improves your capacity to keep on track and perform at your best. Performing multiple tasks is one of the greatest adversaries of concentration. While it could appear to be effective, attempting to do various assignments without a moment's delay really decreases efficiency and improves the probability of mix-ups. All things considered, practice single entrusting, focusing on each assignment in turn. This works on the nature of your work, yet in addition permits you to productively finish jobs more. Enjoying normal reprieves is fundamental for keeping up with center over extensive stretches. The mind can focus seriously for such a long time before weakness sets in. Integrate brief breaks into your work routine to re-energize your psychological energy. Utilize this opportunity to stretch, hydrate, or basically pull back from your screen. Getting back to your work with an invigorated brain assists you with remaining useful and locked in. One more significant methodology for dominating center is defining clear limits among work and rest. At the point when the lines between the two haze, It becomes more enthusiastically to completely think during work hours and to unwind during personal time. Make a timetable that isolates your work time from individual time and stick to it. This further develops concentrate, yet additionally forestalls burnout. Commend your advancement. Each time you complete an undertaking or accomplish an objective, require a second to recognize your work. Encouraging feedback assembles certainty and spurs you to remain on track from now on. Recall that concentration, similar to any expertise, improves with training. Show restraint toward yourself as you foster this capacity. Becoming amazing at center changes the manner in which you approach your objectives. It permits you to channel your energy toward what makes the biggest difference, slice through the commotion of interruptions, and accomplish more quicker than expected. Center isn't just about working harder. It's tied in with working more astute with aim and lucidity. At the point when you figure out how to center, you open the ability to make an existence of direction, efficiency, and achievement. Section 16. The significance of self-reflection. Self-reflection is one of the most useful assets for self-awareness, mindfulness, and mental strength. It's the act of searching internally to inspect your contemplations, activities, feelings, and encounters. By carving out opportunity to reflect, you gain lucidity about what your identity is, what you need, and how to move along. Self-reflection permits you to gain from before, adjust your activities to your qualities, and pursue more deliberate choices for your future. The initial step to self-reflection is making space for it in your life. In our speedy world, it's not difficult to move starting with one undertaking then onto the next without stopping to consider how you're doing or where you're going. Put away committed time for reflection, whether it's a couple of moments toward the finish of every day, a week-by-week survey, or a top-to-bottom meeting one time per month. This time is an interest in your self-awareness and prosperity. Journaling is one of the best apparatuses for self-reflection. Recording your considerations, sentiments, and encounters assists you with handling them all the more profoundly and dispassionately. Begin by posing yourself intelligent inquiries, for example, what went well today? What might I at any point have improved? How could I deal with difficulties? What am I thankful for? Over the long run, your diary turns into a record of your development, giving important bits of knowledge into examples, progress, and regions for development. One more key part of self-reflection is assessing your objectives and needs. Is it safe to say that you are investing your significant investment on the main thing to you? Are your everyday activities lined up with your drawn-out goals? Pondering these inquiries assists you with remaining fixed on your motivation and try not to become involved with interruptions or immaterial errands. It additionally permits you to make changes when your objectives or values advance. Self-reflection is especially significant after misfortunes or disappointments. Rather than just continuing on, carve out opportunity to investigate what occurred and what you can gain from the experience. Ask yourself, what added to this result? What might I at any point have done another way? What examples might I at any point convey forward? By thinking about your difficulties, you transform them into valuable open doors for development and flexibility. Thinking about your assets and accomplishments is likewise fundamental. Frequently, individuals center a lot around their slip-ups and neglect their victories. Find opportunity to recognize what you're getting along nicely and the headway you've made. Perceiving your assets supports your certainty as well as assists you with expanding on them later on. Rehearsing care can upgrade your capacity to reflect. Care includes being completely present at the time, which permits you to notice your considerations and sentiments without judgment. This mindfulness is the underpinning of viable self-reflection. At the point when you're careful, you can recognize examples, triggers, and fundamental feelings that impact your way of behaving. For instance, care could assist you with seeing that pressure drives you to delay, giving you the knowledge expected to address the main driver. Criticism from others can likewise assume a significant part in self-reflection. Now and again, it's hard to see yourself plainly, and an external point of view can give important experiences. Request useful criticism from confided-in companions, family, or partners. Consider their perceptions close by your own appearance to acquire a more complete comprehension of your assets and regions for development. While self-reflection is an amazing asset, moving toward it with empathy and balance is significant. Try not to be excessively disparaging of yourself. Reflection isn't tied in with harping on your mix-ups or making a decision about yourself cruelly. It's tied in with learning and developing. Indulge yourself with benevolence as you inspect your activities and choices. Praise your advancement and view mishaps as venturing stones instead of disappointments. One more significant practice in self-reflection is appreciation. Pondering what you're grateful for shifts your concentration based on what's missing to what's bountiful. Think about individuals, encounters, and open doors that have enhanced your life. Appreciation upgrades your psychological prosperity, yet additionally reinforces your connections and assists you with keeping an inspirational perspective. Utilize self-reflection to make a dream for your future. Think about where you are currently and where you need to be. What sort of individual would you like to turn into? What changes do you have to make to adjust your present to your ideal future? Self-reflection is a scaffold between your ongoing self and your possible self. It engages you to move toward your objectives and to carry on with a life that is genuine and satisfying. The significance of self-reflection couldn't possibly be more significant. A training cultivates mindfulness, advances self-improvement, and upgrades your capacity to explore life's difficulties. By routinely finding opportunity to reflect, you gain clearness, certainty, and command over your life. Self-reflection isn't just about thinking back. It's tied in with utilizing the bits of knowledge you gain to push ahead with reason and aim. Section 17. The job of persistence in self-improvement. Tolerance is an ideal frequently underrated in its significance, yet it assumes a basic part in self-awareness, achievement, and mental strength. In a speedy existence where moment results are commended, developing persistence permits you to embrace the excursion as opposed to the objective. It trains you to persevere through delays, defeat obstructions, and remain steady in seeking after your objectives. Persistence isn't about latently pausing. It's tied in with keeping an uplifting perspective and moving forward, in any event, when progress appears to be slow. The initial step to creating persistence is understanding that development requires some investment. Whether you're mastering another expertise, constructing a vocation, or working on your connections, significant advancement doesn't come about more or less by accident. Recognize that each advantageous accomplishment is the aftereffect of reliable exertion after some time. This point of view assists you with remaining roused and stay away from dissatisfaction when results aren't prompt. One method for rehearsing persistence is by setting practical assumptions. Ridiculous objectives or courses of events can prompt dissatisfaction and debilitation. All things considered, break your bigger targets into more modest, feasible achievements. Praise these little wins en route to keep your force and help yourself to remember the headway you're making. For instance, in the event that you want to run a long-distance race, center first around running a mile, then slowly increment your distance. Tolerance additionally includes tolerating mishaps as a component of the cycle. No excursion is without obstructions, and disappointments are frequently venturing stones to progress. Rather than survey difficulties as motivations to stop, consider them to be amazing chances to learn and develop. Ask yourself, what could I at any point gain from this experience? How might I work on pushing ahead? This mentality assists you with remaining strong and keep a drawn-out point of view. Rehearsing care is one more viable method for developing persistence. Care helps you to zero in on the current second as opposed to agonizing over the future or choosing not to move on. At the point when you're careful, you can see the value in the little advances you're requiring and the work you're placing in, regardless of whether the outcomes aren't quickly apparent. Care likewise assists you with keeping quiet and focused notwithstanding difficulties. Persistence is intently attached to self-control. It requires the capacity to postpone delight and oppose the compulsion to pursue faster routes. While alternate ways could offer handy solutions, they frequently come to the detriment of value or long-haul achievement. Persistence, then again, urges you to remain focused on the cycle, realizing that the work you put today will take care of from here on out. Building persistence additionally includes dealing with your feelings. Restlessness frequently emerges from dissatisfaction, stress, or a need to get a move on. At the point when you feel these feelings sneaking in, delay and take a couple of full breaths. Ponder your advancement and help yourself to remember your drawn-out objectives. Creating profound mindfulness and control permits you to explore difficulties with effortlessness and self-restraint. One more part of persistence is figuring out how to trust the cycle. It's normal to need to get results rapidly, yet surging frequently prompts botches or burnout. Believe that the work you're placing in will yield results, regardless of whether they set aside some margin to show. For instance, sowing a seed doesn't bring about a tree for the time being. It requires steady consideration, water, and daylight. Essentially, your endeavors in any everyday issue will prove to be fruitful with persistence and diligence. Rehearsing appreciation can likewise upgrade your capacity to show restraint. As we stand on the edge of another year, there's a sure energy in the air. It resembles remaining on a scaffold, glancing back at all that you've encountered and achieved, while getting a brief look at what lies ahead. It's a characteristic opportunity to reflect, to reset, and to make way for a superior year to come. In any case, here's the key. Only reflection isn't sufficient. Trust isn't a methodology, and living in Fantasyland won't steer your life. You must make a conscious move. Presently, the vast majority enter another year with a rundown of goals that frequently don't endure January. Why would that be? Since they center around the surface as opposed to the roots. They put forth objectives without building the establishment expected to help them. You can't simply cover up old walls and anticipate that the room should look pristine. You must strip away the old paint, fix up the breaks, and afterward apply something new. At the end of the day, assuming that you believe that 1 year from now should be unique, you must get ready in an unexpected way. What you do in the weeks paving the way to another year can significantly affect how that year unfurls. There's no need to focus on hanging tight for January 1st to begin making changes. It's tied in with making force now, energy that conveys you forward, into the following year, however past it. That is the reason I accept there are 5 fundamental things you should do before the new year starts. These aren't simply activities. They're standards. They're the basis for progress, satisfaction, and progress. What's more, they're however viable as they may be strong. The sorcery isn't in the schedule turning over. The sorcery is in you. In any case, enchantment doesn't occur unintentionally. It occurs through expectation. It happens when you quit drifting and begin picking intentionally the way that you believe your life should unfurl. Before the clock strikes 12 p.m. on December 31st, there are steps you can take to guarantee that you're responding to life, however making it. What's more, here's the magnificence of it. You don't need to get it awesome. Progress is a higher priority than flawlessness. The objective is to situate yourself so that when the new year starts, you're as of now on the ball. You're now moving with a reasonable internal compass and a strong groundwork underneath you. So as we go through these 5 fundamental activities, I maintain that you should contemplate them profoundly, as ideas, however as responsibilities to yourself, to your development, and to your future. Since what you in all actuality do now will figure out where you are this time 1 year from now. Furthermore, assuming that you believe that 1 year from now should be exceptional, it begins with your decisions today. The main thing you should do before the year closes is to lead a legit and exhaustive survey of your life. Not a relaxed look, not a speedy reflection, but rather a profound, conscious assessment of where you stand. Since here's reality. You can't push ahead actually in the event that you don't have the foggiest idea where you are. Think about it like a guide. Assuming that you're lost, the main thing you want to do is sort out your ongoing area. Really at that time could you at any point graph a course to where you need to go. This audit isn't about judgment. It's about mindfulness. It's tied in with making a stride back and posing yourself a few extreme inquiries. What functioned admirably for you this year? Actually, what didn't? Where did you develop and where did you miss the mark? How could you invest your energy? What propensities served you and which ones disrupted you? The objective here is to recognize designs, both positive and negative, so you can enhance what's working and address what isn't. Begin with your funds. Take a gander at your spending, your saving, and your procuring. Is it true or not that you are in a preferred monetary situation over you were toward the beginning of the year? Did you adhere to a financial plan or did you wind up overspending? Did you gain ground toward monetary freedom or would you say you are as yet floating? This is where many individuals bashful away on the grounds that numbers can feel threatening. Be that as it may, staying away from reality won't transform it. Dealing with it directly is the best way to get to the next level. Then, inspect your connections. Contemplate individuals in your day-to-day existence. Are your connections more grounded, further, and more significant than they were a year prior? Or on the other hand, have you allowed them to float? Connections are the groundwork of a satisfying life. However, they require exertion. Have you been offering them enough time and consideration, or have you been underestimating them? What's more, here's an extreme one. Are there connections you want to relinquish on the grounds that they're as of now not beneficial or lined up with your development? That is the thing. You can't allow these connections to go through the entirety of your significant investment. Time is your most valuable asset, and how you've spent it this year merits looking at. Check out the exercises that filled your days. Is it true that they were lined up with your objectives, or would they say they were interruptions? Did you concentrate on things that drew you nearer to your vision, or did you wind up made up for lost time and hecticness without genuine advancement? Keep in mind, the manner in which you invest your energy shapes your outcomes. What's more, remember your current circumstance. Your environmental elements assume a huge part in your prosperity. Ponder the spaces where you invest your energy, your home, your office, even individuals you communicate with. Are these conditions strong of your objectives, or would they say they are keeping you down? A jumbled space prompts a jumbled brain. Then again, a space that is perfect, coordinated, and moving can give you the energy and center you want to flourish. At long last, assess your feeling of direction. Do you feel like you're on a way that lines up with your qualities and your vision for your life? Or, on the other hand, have you been making a half-hearted effort, doing what's generally anticipated without an unmistakable internal compass? Object isn't something you coincidentally find. It's something you develop. Consider whether the manner in which you've invested your significant investment this year reflects the main thing to you. As you go through this cycle, record everything on paper. There's a strong thing about seeing your considerations on paper. It powers clearness and makes a record you can allude back to. Try not to rush it. Set aside some margin to dig profound and uncover the bits of insight that will direct your subsequent stages. The objective of this survey isn't to choose not to move on, yet to gain from it. Extricate the examples from your encounters, both the successes and the misfortunes. Each misstep you made, each misfortune you confronted conveys an example on the off chance that you're willing to search for it. Also, every achievement, regardless of how little, holds signs about what you're fit for when you're at your best. Whenever you've finished your survey, pause for a minute to recognize your advancement. Commend your successes, regardless of how little they could appear. Perceive the work you've placed in, regardless of whether the outcomes weren't the very thing you expected. This isn't tied in with pounding yourself. It's tied in with getting legitimate so you can push ahead with clearness and reason. This audit is the establishment for all the other things. Without it, you're speculating. With it, you're expanding on strong ground. So carve out opportunity to get everything done as well as possible, in light of the fact that the more clear you are about where you stand, the more successful you'll be at making the future you need. The third thing you should do before the year closes is to make a point-by-point plan for killing interruptions and obstructions. Achievement isn't just about what you do. It's additionally about what you quit doing. It's tied in with making the way so you can zero in on the main thing. Think about it like pruning a tree. You eliminate the superfluous branches with the goal that the tree can develop further, better, and more useful. A similar standard applies to your life. Assuming you believe 1 year from now should be your best yet, you really want to distinguish and kill the things that are keeping you down. Begin by recognizing your interruptions. What individuals or propensities are consuming your significant investment without increasing the value of your life? Be mercilessly legit here. Anything it is, record it on paper. The initial step to beating interruptions is recognizing them. Whenever you've recognized your interruptions, the following stage is to define limits. Limits are an approach to safeguarding your time, energy, and concentration. They're not tied in with closing individuals out or being unbending. They're tied in with being purposeful with your assets. In the event that you wind up expressing yes to things out of responsibility or commitment, work on expressing no with certainty. Expressing no to what doesn't serve you is truly talking about yes to your objectives, your needs, and your future. There's one more type of interruption, and that is messiness. Actual mess, however mental and profound mess too. Check out your current circumstance. Is it coordinated or is it turbulent? A jumbled space frequently prompts a jumbled psyche, making it harder to concentration and remain useful. Improve on your environmental factors so they support your objectives as opposed to contending with them. Mental mess can be similarly basically as problematic as actual mess. Negative self-talk, inefficient concerns, and unsettled clashes take up important mental land. Ponder the contemplations and convictions that may be keeping you down. Are there fears you want to face? Are there restricting convictions you really want to challenge? Supplanting antagonism with helpful reasoning resembles cleaning the haze off of your brain. It permits you to obviously see your way more. However, there will constantly be snags. While interruptions are much of the time purposeful, obstructions are the outside challenges that hinder you. Anything your deterrents are, don't see them as long-lasting barriers. All things considered, treat them as issues to be settled. For each snag, there's an expected arrangement, yet you must search for it. Begin by separating your snags into more modest, reasonable pieces. On the off chance that you feel as you need more time, dissect how you're presently spending it. Assuming that your deterrent is monetary, recognize explicit ways of reducing expenses, increment pay, or focus on enjoying in arrangement with your objectives. One of the best ways of taking out interruptions and impediments is to make frameworks. Frameworks are schedules, cycles, or apparatuses that assist you with remaining focused. Frameworks eliminate the requirement for steady navigation, permitting you to work all the more proficiently. Responsibility is another useful asset. Share your arrangement to take out interruptions and beat obstructions with somebody you trust. Request that they consider you responsible and be available to their input. Some of the time, an external point of view can assist you with seeing vulnerable sides you could have missed. Furthermore, knowing that another person is watching your advancement can propel you to remain restrained. At last, recall that taking out interruptions and impediments is certainly not a one-time task. It's a continuous interaction. Life has an approach to tossing new difficulties and enticements at you, so it's vital to reconsider and change your methodology consistently. Consider its support. Very much like you clean your home or administration your vehicle, you really want to occasionally tidy up your needs, propensities, and climate. Making room for progress is one of the most freeing things you can do. At the point when you eliminate the interruptions and hindrances that have been keeping you down, you make space for concentration, imagination, and accomplishment. You recover your significant investment, and you direct them toward the main thing. So take the time now to prune the branches, clear the messiness, and set up the way. Since the more clear your way, the quicker and farther you can go. The fourth thing you should do before the year closes is to harden your propensities. Propensities are the undetectable engineering of your life. They direct your way of behaving, shape your results, and eventually decide your future. On the off chance that you believe 1 year from now should be unique, you can't depend on determination alone. You want propensities, positive routines, that line up with your objectives and move you in where you need to head. Pause for a minute to consider your ongoing propensities. What are the schedules, ceremonies, and ways of behaving that make up your days? Is it true that they are serving you, or would they say they are keeping you down? Since here's the truth. Each propensity you have is either a stage toward your objectives or a stage away from them. There's no unbiased ground. In the event that you're not deliberately fabricating beneficial routines, you're unexpectedly building up awful ones. The most important phase in building better propensities is mindfulness. Recognize the propensities that have been assisting you and those that with having been harming you. Do you hesitate? Do you have a propensity for saying, "I'll begin tomorrow"? That is a propensity that requires to go. Then again, do you have a propensity for totally finishing responsibilities in any event when it's troublesome? That is one to keep and fortify. Whenever you've distinguished your propensities, the subsequent stage is to zero in on a couple of high-influence changes. Attempting to redesign as long as you can remember at the same time is a recipe for disappointment. It's mind-boggling and it frequently prompts burnout. All things considered, pick few propensities that will have the greatest effect in your life. Consider them cornerstone propensities, the ones that make a far-reaching influence of positive change. To work on your efficiency, begin every day by recording your main 3 needs. That one little propensity can impact how you coordinate your time, how you approach assignments, and the amount you achieve. Or then again, on the off chance that it's your connections, begin making opportunity every week to interface with somebody you care about. There's no need to focus on doing everything simultaneously. It's tied in with picking the right things to zero in on. While you're constructing another propensity, begin little. The error the vast majority make is attempting to do an excess of too early. They conclude they will work out each day, read a book 7 days, or totally redesign their eating routine. And afterward, when it gets hard or when they goof, they surrender by and large. However, here's reality. Consistency matters more than power. It's smarter to do a little sensible activity reliably than to pull out all the stops for a couple of days and afterward quit. Consider propensities like sowing seeds. From the start, the progressions could appear to be little, even unimportant. However, after some time, they develop into something strong. It's the standard of compounding. Also, it applies similarly as to your funds. The little, positive propensities you assemble today will duplicate over the long haul, prompting enormous outcomes later on. One of the most incredible ways of setting a propensity is to attach it to something you as of now do. If you have any desire to begin journaling, do it just after you clean your teeth every morning. If you have any desire to construct the propensity for perusing, do it before bed every evening. By connecting another propensity to a current one, you make a trigger that reminds you to make a move and keep tabs on your development. There's something staggeringly rousing about seeing your dash of consistency develop. Figure out how to gauge your endeavors. Following keeps you responsible, yet in addition provides you with a feeling of achievement as you see the proof of your diligent effort. Furthermore, remember to remunerate yourself en route. Encouraging feedback is a strong inspiration. At the point when you hit an achievement, commend your advancement. The award doesn't need to be excessive. It simply has to advise you that your endeavors are paying off. Presently, here's a significant point. Anticipate misfortunes. Fabricating new propensities is definitely not a straight way. There will be days when you goof, when life disrupts everything, or when your inspiration melts away. That is typical. The key is to not allow a mishap to turn into a place to pause. One missed day doesn't fix all your advancement. What is important is refocusing as fast as could be expected. At last, encircle yourself with help. Your current circumstance assumes an enormous part in forming your propensities. Furthermore, assuming you're attempting to remain persuaded, invest energy with individuals who move and energize you. Propensities are the structure blocks of accomplishment. They're the activities you take reliably, every day of the week, that make the daily routine you need to experience. By zeroing in on the right propensities, and by focusing on them before the year even starts, you put yourself positioned for long-haul achievement. Since, toward the day's end, not what you do incidentally matters. You do reliably it. The 5th thing you should do before the year starts is to make a dream for your future that is both rousing and noteworthy. An unmistakable, convincing vision resembles a compass. It provides you guidance and keeps you zeroed in any event, when the street gets harsh. Without a dream, you're helpless before conditions, responding to whatever comes your direction. In any case, with a dream, you have something to go for the gold. Something that pulls you forward with reason and assurance. Begin by posing yourself this inquiry. Where would you like to be in about a year? What's more, don't simply contemplate the superficial subtleties. Go further. What sort of individual would you like to turn into? What sort of life would you like to live? Picture it in striking subtlety. What does your ideal day resemble? Who are you with? What's happening with you? How would you feel? The more clear your vision, the more genuine it becomes, and the more inspired you'll be to get it going. When you have an overall thought of your vision, separate it into explicit parts of your life. Ponder your vocation, your funds, your connections, your self-awareness, and whatever other regions that make a difference to you. What is it that you need to accomplish in every one of these areas? Be aggressive, yet in addition reasonable. Your vision ought to extend you, however it shouldn't feel unthinkable. It ought to invigorate you, not overpower you. As you make your vision center around the why. For what reason do these objectives and dreams make a difference to you? What's the more profound significance behind them? A dream that is established in design is definitely more impressive than one that depends exclusively on outer prizes. Needing to bring in more cash is fine, yet it's the explanation for that objective that gives it genuine power. Extraordinary things take time, and each work you make is an interest in your future. Life's difficulties will test you. However, with mental strength, you'll transcend them, tracking down amazing open doors for development and change en route. This isn't just about accomplishing objectives. It's tied in with making an existence of direction, strength, and happiness. A daily existence where you're making do, yet flourishing. You have all that you want inside you to confront any test, take advantage of each and every chance, and construct the existence you imagine. Keep in mind, the excursion to mental strength is a long-lasting cycle. However, with responsibility and assurance, you are relentless. Much thanks to you for setting out on this excursion of development and strength. Presently, take what you've realized, apply it, and step unhesitatingly into the following section of your life. The most ideal rendition of you is ready to